Amen. We'll continue by hearing the word. It's found in Judges, the 6th chapter, 11th to the 24th verses.
I'll be reading from the New Revised Standard Version. Now the angel of the Lord came and sat under the oak at Ophrah, which belonged to Joash the Abiezrite, as his son Gideon was beating out wheat in a wine press to hide from the Midianites. The angel of the Lord appeared to him and said, "The Lord is with you, you mighty warrior." Gideon answered him, "But sir," and the NIV version says, "Pardon me, my Lord. But sir, if the Lord is with us, why then has all this happened to us? And where are all of his wonderful deeds that our ancestors recounted to us, saying, 'Did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt?' But now the Lord has cast us off and given us into the hand of Midian." Then the Lord turned to Gideon and said, "Go in this might of yours and deliver Israel from the hand of Midian. I hereby commission you." He responded, "But sir, how can I deliver Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my family." The Lord said to him, "But I will be with you, and you shall strike down the Midianites, every one of them." Then he said to him, "If now I have found favor with you, then show me a sign that it is you who speak with me." And he said, "I will stay until you return." So Gideon went into his house and prepared a goat, and unleavened cakes from an ephah of flour. The meat he put in a basket, and the broth he put in a pot, and brought them to him under the oak and presented them. The angel of God said to him, "Take the meat and the unleavened cakes, and put them on this rock, and pour out the broth." And Gideon did so. Then the angel of the Lord reached out the tip of the staff that was in his hand and touched the meat and the unleavened cakes, and fire sprang up from the rock and consumed the meat and the unleavened cakes, and the angel of the Lord vanished from his sight. Then Gideon perceived that it was the angel of the Lord, and Gideon said, "Help me, Lord God, for I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face." But the Lord said to him, "Peace be with you. Peace be to you. Do not fear. You shall not die." Then Gideon built an altar there to the Lord and called it, "The Lord is Peace." To this day it still stands at Ophrah, which belongs to the Abiezrites. Will you pray with me? God, we thank you for moments of fellowship. We thank you, God, that you are with us, calling us out of our hiding places. We thank you for offering peace unto us, even in our uncertainty. Bless this moment together. Bless the word that will be delivered to your people. In your name, we pray. Amen.
Amen. And I'm just going to read just a bit of that in the Message Bible. The end of that piece that Nia just read, starting at the 22nd verse. And this is how the Message Bible interprets that passage. "And Gideon knew it was the angel of God. Gideon said, 'Oh no, Master God, I have seen the angel of God face to face.' But God reassured him, 'Easy now. Don't panic. You won't die.' Then Gideon built an altar there to God and named it God's Peace. It's still called that at Ophrah of Abiezer." The word of God for the people.
Thanks be to God. So, Fort Washington, has anyone in here ever been to a threshing floor? No? Oh, good, me neither, because, I ain't never heard of that till I read this chapter. But the threshing floor, and we don't have much use for it anymore because we have machines and things to do, make our food and to peel things for us. We don't need to do the laborious work that happened on the threshing floor. But the threshing floor was a place in ancient times. It was a big field. Usually it was a circular field, and it was hard floor, much like this, hard wood, much like this. And what would happen is the people would gather the crops from the harvest, they would gather the wheat from the harvest, and they would carry it to the threshing floor. And on the threshing floor, they would spread it out. And it was a big place now. It was on everybody could see it. It was usually on flat land, so they would spread it out. This big circular threshing floor, and they would spread the wheat out, and then they would stump on it. And if they needed the process to go quicker, the whole community would come and expedite the process. They would all stump on the wheat on the threshing floor. And they did this because that process would separate the chaff from the grain. And they were trying to get to the grain. That was the good part. That was the gift, right? They were trying to get to the gift, the part that was going to feed their families. And so they would spread all this stuff out on the threshing floor to uncover the gift. Much like corn, when you peel back the husk to get to the kernel, this process was the same thing. They would spread it out, and they would invite their cattle, their sheep and their cows and their pig and everything else to come and stump on the wheat on the threshing floor to uncover the gift. And as I was reading about the threshing floor, because I'm country, but I'm not that country. I ain't never had no threshing floor experience. As I was reading about the threshing floor, I thought, I wonder how many of us have never been to the threshing floor. And I don't just mean the literal threshing floor, because most of us ain't been to a literal threshing floor. But I wonder how many of us have never been to a figurative or proverbial threshing floor. How many of us have missed the uncovering of the gift? How many of us, knowing how laborious uncovering the gift is, have run from the threshing floor? How many of us are hiding from the threshing floor? I would argue that many of us in here have had our running from the threshing floor experiences. Maybe some of us are still running from the threshing floor, knowing how dirty it gets down there, knowing how painful, knowing how the blisters come from your hands when you are peeling back the chaff from the grain. How many of us are running from the threshing floor? And the threshing floor back then was a very public space. And so we meet Gideon not at the threshing floor. We meet Gideon where we meet many of us, in his hiding place. Yes. And Gideon is up on a hill under a tree pushing wheat through a wine press. Now, that don't make no sense, but we're going to get there. He's pushing wheat through a wine press. He is hiding from the threshing floor. And part of the reason why Gideon is hiding is because the Israelites are under oppressive rule of the Midianites. And so Gideon and his people can no longer thresh their wheat on the threshing floor because they would be in sight of the Midianites. And the Midianites are out to get the Israelites. They're out to kill them. And in addition to killing them, they also want to kill their crops. Right? So the Israelites are in a season of famine. They're working very hard to make sense of this situation as they take their wheat from the threshing floor up into the hillside, and they're pressing it through a wine press out of sight of the Midianites. And this is where we meet Gideon today, hiding. And he's doing good in his hiding. I imagine that this is Gideon's 9-to-5 gig. He's good. He's in his cubicle under the tree, pushing out his wheat. That's what he's doing. He's good. His family, Gideon is an Abiezrite. He comes from a prosperous family. He's good. They're good. He's good in his hiding. But here comes the angel of the Lord. The angel of the Lord comes and accosts Gideon in his hiding place. And he says, "Oh, you mighty warrior, greetings. I'm the angel of the Lord, you mighty warrior." And Gideon's like, "You talking to me? Mighty warrior? I mean, my family is prosperous and all, but we're the weakest clan in the Israelites. We're not mighty." And the angel of the Lord says to Gideon, "You have been commissioned to deliver your people from under the oppressive rule of the Midianites." And Gideon's like, "Who, me? Nah, you playing. You really playing, okay? I don't think you're talking to the right person." And like every one of our biblical characters who gets called by God, Gideon has objections, right? Gideon this is not me. I come from the Abiezrites. We weak. I'm little old me. I'm the weakest person in my clan. You calling the wrong person. And I think a lot about Moses. And when Moses was called by God, Moses is like, "Yo, God, I don't speak well. My speech is, I'm not the right person." And I think about Isaiah, and Isaiah was called by God. And Isaiah's like, "Yo, God, I have unclean lips. I'm not the right person." Everybody objects. And yet God still seeks Gideon out in his hiding place. I wonder how many of us are in our hiding places today. What are we running from? What calling are we scared to uncover? What gifts are we scared to uncover on the threshing floor? What are we running from? And perhaps it's because, like Gideon, we are looking for a sign from God. The angel of the Lord wasn't enough for him. He needed a bigger sign. It wasn't enough, right? And I get it. I grew up watching The Prince of Egypt. Moses was walking on the road, a burning bush and everything, So I think, everybody's call got to look like the burning bush, right? I mean, I would still be waiting on the move of God if I was looking for a burning bush because I ain't seen one yet. And how many of us are missing the move of God because we are so focused on a miracle? We miss the mundane move of God in our lives. This is where we meet Gideon today. Hiding. Missing the mundane movement of God. Looking for a sign that God is saying, "You are the person to deliver my people." What are we running from? And what does it look like in real time, in 21st century time? What does it look like when we are accosted by a divine interruption?
Once upon a time, I was what I consider a very successful actress. I wasn't famous, but I was a working actress. People knew who I was. People would call me for different things. I didn't always have to audition for something. My reputation preceded me. And then I became a fairly successful writer because I was a part of this emerging writers group at the Public Theater. My plays were about slavery, and they were being read on the Public Theater stage. And then I was taking meetings with really important people. I was going to offices at Manhattan Theater Club and Signature Theater, and people were asking me to send them my plays, and I was feeling pretty good about all these different, what I consider revenue streams coming in. I was starting to make a name for myself. I was feeling pretty good about all of that, and then, picture it, Sicily, 1967. That's Golden Girls, that may be before some of your time. So year 2009, 2010, I started to feel like what I was doing was not enough. I was going to Bible studies all over the city. I couldn't get enough of what I was hearing in church. I always wanted more. And then I started to feel like even if I had more material success, that I was missing something. I started to write poetry, and all of my poetry was about jumping off a cliff, something starting to begin, something happening, something getting ready to emerge. And I thought maybe this was just me about to become famous. And then I was on the M4 bus going downtown on Broadway. And we passed Union Theological Seminary. And I felt like God was saying to me, if you don't get off this bus and go and get the application, I will crash you into a mountain. Oh, well, oh, fine, we just calm down. Okay, I'll go get the application. Because I didn't think it had anything to do with me. I don't know anything about seminaries. So I went and I got the application and I let it sit in my living room, and it gathered dust until the summer of about 2010, or maybe even the late fall. I started to have these really intense conversations with God, like, wait a minute, what is this? Why are you moving me away from acting and writing? What am I being moved to? And when I started to realize that God was calling me to ministry, I had a tantrum for almost a year. How dare you? You gave me these gifts and now I'm just supposed to set them aside? Are you giving up on me? Am I not good enough? Am I gonna be on the subway passing out tracts? Oh my God, please do not make me into a religious fanatic. I didn't know what it meant. And so I ignored it. But I still kept fighting. I will not go to seminary. I will not be a preacher. That's ridiculous. Kind of cute. I don't need to. Too cute to be a minister. Ministers are old men. What are you talking about? This is what my experience was. And then, after having tantrum after tantrum after tantrum, after being on the threshing floor and being what I felt like being stomped, I finally realized that God was not calling me away from myself, but calling me to myself, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
That God was not saying that all the things that you have done before are being set aside. God was saying everything you've done before is actually what I need for you right now. I got the application again because the one I had gotten at first was old by now, and this is like 2011. And I thought, okay. I drug my feet all the way to seminary. I drug my feet almost through seminary. And I thought, well, at least, because I'm being obedient, things will get easier. Just the opposite. If anything, because I was wrestling in a new way, things got harder. But one thing I was assured of was that I was on the right path. I stopped feeling like things had to come to a point where I needed to jump off. I felt like I had actually taken that leap. And so, like I said, it wasn't easy, but at least the journey had started.
The journey had started. And I heard you say that you thought that God was forcing you to abandon your gifts. And I'm sure Gideon felt the same way. Gideon, with his great creativity and ingenuity, Gideon had found a way to thresh wheat through a wine press. Gideon was creative, and Gideon was prosperous. And here comes God disrupting and interrupting everything that Gideon was about to call him to something greater. Gideon was content in his hiding place. I wonder how many of us are content in our hiding places. Things are going well at the job, right? Things are going well in school, so this must be the right track because it's going well. And I have a cousin, she once says, everything that's good ain't God, Mia. And I was like, what? She said, everything you're good at might not be what God is calling you to be, to do. And I imagine that Gideon felt the same way. He was content in his hiding place. But one thing that I always get stuck on in this passage is the wine press. And I think about the miracle of being able to still produce something, even in hiding, even in secret, away from the public sphere, away from the threshing floor, and God seeing that and saying, if you could be creative in this hiding place, surely you could be creative in the public sphere. Surely you can deliver my people from under the oppressive rule of the Midianites. God saw Gideon's creativity and called him because of that. I have to think that God called you because of your creativity. And of course, Gideon objects. Gideon, like Moses, like Isaiah, like many people, like you, like me, says, I'm not good enough. I'm not qualified enough. I'm not the right person. I don't have the right degree. I don't have the right money. I'm not important. I'm not famous. And God sees you anyway. God sees you and calls you out of your hiding place anyway. For Washington, we're in a season of resistance where everybody's gifts are necessary to make this thing happen. Everybody's gifts are important. And I wonder how many gifts have gone uncovered because we've been running from the threshing floor. How much further along could our resistance be if we would get to the threshing floor and get to the laborious work and uncover the grain? The good news, though, is that even while we're hiding, God finds us and God calls us to the threshing floor. God rips away the husk to get to the kernel. God peels away the bran, the shaft to get to the grain, to get to the heart of who we are, to get to our gifts. What threshing floor are you running from? And are you willing to trust the mundane and the unexpected call of God?
One thing that we discovered when we were working on this passage is that Gideon's name means hacker or hewer in Hebrew. Just like Michelangelo, his name means like sculptor. And so when I was going through my call, one illustration that kept coming back to me was what Michelangelo said about him being a sculptor. He said, I saw the angel in the marble, and I carved until I set him free. And so God did that with Gideon. God saw the statue, God saw the warrior that Gideon was, but it was buried. And I like to think that God saw the preacher in me, the minister in me, and he chipped away at all the stuff that I thought was necessary. But here's the thing, that chipping is hard. It's a hammer and a chisel. And it takes some effort. And it can be painful. But even while I was wrestling with God, I was held by God. Yes. And so the good news of my call, the good news of Gideon's call, like Mia says, is not that our inner person has been abandoned. It's that we've been expanded. I never would have seen my art or my writing in the light that I see it now if I had not been called to ministry. Gideon was doing something important, yes, And that takes a lot of room. He was doing it in a cramped space. But like Mia said, what would that look like if he had been able to be out and open? We ask ourselves, you know, get it? You're working hard, you're over, you're all crouched, you're afraid you're under a tree. I'm wondering, are we Gideon, or are we the wheat that has been developed in secret? Are we the wheat that has been brought forth in a cramped space? You know, a fish in a fish tank is only going to grow as large as the tank. What does it look like when we go into a larger tank? What does it look like when your calling is put into a more expansive environment? That's why I'm so grateful here for Fort Washington, because I feel like here I have the biggest tank to swim around in and to develop in. And that is actually the kingdom of God. All of us have the ability to be our full selves. This beloved community is open and expansive. And so here's what I do know for sure. You can be the wheat in the wine press, you can be hidden away, but God will reassure you. Like the Message Bible says, easy now. Do not fear. Do not panic. You won't die. You will not die. We have a dwelling place, we have a safe space in this beloved kingdom. We are all held and loved. We are all expanded. And ain't that good news? Amen.